We are in our import measures and restrictions page. So, theoretically, after a no-deal Brexit, the erga omnes rates we see here will apply to our imports from all countries in the European Union. The VAT and duty charges for our umbrellas will go up from 0.00% to the erga omnes rates. That is, up until the point when and if the UK ever strikes up a new and separate trade agreement with the EU. Next. GSP. We saw GSP earlier on. Scrolling down. Just a bit more. A quick note on GSP. These are countries that fall under the World Trade Organization rules regarding Generalized Scheme of Preferences, GSP. Under GSP, developing countries can get trade preferences. Trade preferences reduce or remove tariffs on imports into the UK from developing countries. We see GSP countries and GSP plus countries. Scrolling down. We also notice a great many other countries, not in the GSP groups, down here where the tariff preference measure is set at 0.00%. If we can get our brollies from these countries right now, or from the GSP countries, then this means we pay 0% import duty. We'll use GSP to lead on to a discussion about the World Trade Organization, WTO. We discovered GSP and GSP plus countries. All three are set with tariff preferences. The creation of these GSP groups is inspired by the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the terms to which WTO member countries adhere. I googled how many countries in the world, the answer came back as 195. To put things in perspective, the World Trade Organization is made up of 164 different member countries that all have agreed to its rules. The WTO puts trade without discrimination as the number one priority. Trade without discrimination is defined by the first article in the WTO General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, and this article is referred to as the Most Favored Nation, MFN, principle. You might have noticed MFN earlier. The principle dictates that countries cannot discriminate between their trading partners. If you grant any country a special favor, such as lower customs duties for certain products, then you have to do the same for all other WTO members. That is unless any one of the following three exceptions apply. 1. Countries are allowed to set up free trade agreements with other countries, in which favorable terms may be specified as part of the contract. I guess this first exception has led to the creation of many of these groups we see listed in the Measures for All Countries listing. As a country, perhaps you might want to set up trade preferences for perishable goods, manufactured goods, etc. with your neighbors and other countries that had similar standards. 2. Countries can allow developing countries access to their markets under favorable conditions, in order to give aid to their economies. The tariffs containing these charitable rates, plus the list of qualifying countries, are referred to as the Generalized Scheme of Preferences, GSP. In other words, the GSP is a scheme of duty waivers, provided to assist the economies of the listed countries, and we saw these earlier as GSP and GSP+. And 3. A country can raise barriers against products that are considered to be traded unfairly. Dumping, and significantly large state subsidies, are considered to be unfair global trading practices. Dumping is a practice that attempts to damage producers in the importing country. The goods are sold, in foreign markets, at such an unfairly low price, and in significantly large enough quantities, so as to put the indigenous producers at risk. Subsidies are large sums of money, in the form of cash, or tax reductions, provided to a business, or sector, to support those industries, and to create jobs within a country. However, subsidies are viewed as unfair by other countries, when they impact on trade at an international level, where the subsidies given to an industry in one country damage industries in the importing countries, by unfairly undermining sales from local outlets. How is the UK affected by the Most Favoured Nation principle? As mentioned, the first exception to this principle means that the UK, as well as all other WTO member countries, have to treat each other in the same way, unless otherwise specified in a trade agreement. This means that, for example, the UK couldn't simply lower tariffs for the EU, or any other WTO member country, unless it had agreed a trade deal. When there is no trade agreement between WTO member countries, then they must base any imports or exports on the Most Favoured Nation tariff, or MFN tariff, and we will see how to access the MFN tariff listing later. Does this mean that the no-deal temporary tariff we are looking at also includes the MFN tariff rates? Yes. Rates from the MFN tariff are set to the erga omnes group only. We could look at many of the other product types, chosen from any section of the UK trade tariff, in order to view the erga omnes rates set, here in the Measures for All Countries list. Yes, well. For the sake of brevity, let's not do that. Instead, I'll just say that, if a trade agreement exists between any two or more countries in the erga omnes list, then a line is created here in the Measures for All Countries list and that row takes precedence over the information and rates shown in the erga omnes lines. This is how the first exception, to the Most Favoured Nation principle, is implemented. How does the MFN tariff compare with the tariff you can expect, as a member of the EU single market? This is another difficult question to answer exactly. To complicate matters, the MFN tariff includes quotas. But Just by looking at measures for our brollies, we see a standard rate of duty of 4.70% for the Erga Omnes Group, versus 0.00% tariff preference, that we know is set for trade between EU members, and countries that have signed a trade agreement with the EU. So again, how does the WTO tariff compare with the duties you can expect, as an EU member trading in the single market? The EU has 0% duty and 0% VAT versus the WTO, which has 4.70% duty and 20% VAT, but WTO has quotas for some products as well, which we discuss later. Let that be our basic answer. Yes. WTO rules have given rise to the tariff quotas, and now also, the tariff rate quotas, which is a UK no-deal Brexit set of quotas. Under WTO terms of trade, quotas allow UK traders to get lower duties. Quotas are a different beast to tariff rates, but more on that, later on.